Whoa! In the last 2 videos, I got a lot of new suggestions for stuff to test, most likely due to me showing the comments on screen now. Which is really cool actually. I'm glad all of you are so engaged, because man, going down all those comments is a lot of work. But you aren't here to hear about that. You want to see me bust the myths that all of you proposed. So let's look at 15 more myths in Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, because we got a lot of very good ones. And don't forget, leave your ideas below. Number 15. In the last couple of videos, I covered a lot of Boomerang myths. Like a whole lot. So many that it's almost a bit of a meme in the comment section. And so, as you could have expected, another person suggested a Boomerang myth for me to try. Jarbear9447 said, what will happen when you attach an Octo Balloon to a Boomerang? And this is a pretty good question. Will it turn into a balloon when you throw it and fly away? Or does it have some sort of knockback effect? Well, who knows? And so I decided to mess around with this fuse combo to see if it would do anything. And quite quickly I found out that its effects are quite disappointing. When you throw it, nothing really happens, to be honest. But it did have a special name. It was called the Bouncy Boomerang. And so I thought maybe it would increase the knockback. But then when I hit a Goblin with it, the balloon just popped and it had no knockback effect at all. Which was incredibly disappointing to say the least. So yeah, this claim is a bust. The Octo Balloon doesn't do anything really. Number 14. Now obviously we have to talk about more Boomerang stuff, because otherwise people in the comment section will kill me. Some of them are foaming at the mouth for more of these, and if I don't cover them, I fear I might disappear at some point. And so, here is another one. Because the viewer, whose name I can't pronounce, because, I mean, come on, look at it, said the following. Fuse a Lizalfo's tail to a Boomerang. It's good for crowd control, and is handy in fights in general. Now this certainly piqued my interest. I hadn't ever used the Lizalfo's tail, so I didn't even know what it would do. So I got myself a Boomerang and put a normal Lizalfo's tail on it. And immediately I noticed that it had a really cool effect. It extends like a whip even when you throw it. This gives it really good range and can mess up enemies really fast. So yeah, this claim is true. Combining a Lizalfo's with a Boomerang is great for loads of enemies when you throw it. And even one-on-one, it's pretty amazing. Number 13. Now, when I came across this myth, I thought it was a complete lie. Like, there was no way it was true. But, as always, I have to test it before I can make my final judgment. Because while I have been right in the past, I have also been wrong. According to Subord Death 123, if you throw a shock fruit at an electric choo-choo, it will overcharge and die in one hit without the big explosion. But will it? Well, I ventured into the desert to find out, and when I came across this choo-choo, I saw my chance. I threw a shock fruit at it, and while I missed the first time, the second one hit, killing it. But there was still a huge electrical explosion. So as expected, this doesn't really work. Sure, the choo-choo dies, but this could be achieved with almost anything since they are quite weak, and the whole explosion is still there. So really, this is kind of useless. Sorry, Subord Death 123. Number 12. Now, in the previous video, we looked at a little arrow myth that would impact how we play the game a lot if it was true. And today we are back again with another little test that could be very useful in a combat situation. The user, whose name I will again not try to pronounce because, I mean, how? Asked me if you can catch an arrow after shooting it. Now, as you can imagine, this is a bit of a challenge. The thing flies away at high speed, and you got to quickly switch to Ultra Hand to even catch it. So, is this even possible? I mean, pulling this off is already a massive challenge, and can you even target an arrow with Ultra Hand? Well, as you can imagine, I had to figure out if Ultra Hand even did anything before I wasted massive amounts of time attempting testing this stuff again and again. And so I picked up a bow and shot some arrows. Now, as soon as they were on the ground or stuck in something, I tried to grab them using Ultra Hand. But as you can see, this isn't possible at all. You can't use that Zonai ability on an arrow. So in the end, the claim of catching an arrow you shot is completely impossible due to this. So yeah, sadly enough, this claim is false. Number 11. In the past, we have bullied a lot of Koroks, and while some in the comments act like they don't harass these poor little guys, we all know that no one is perfect. Everyone has done something wrong at some point. However, we aren't actually here to terrorize or experiment on them. Well, I mean, when it comes to this myth at least. Because Vader's First asked me, can you deliver a Korok to a different Korok friend? In the game, you come across a lot of them that are stuck in place due to their heavy backpacks. And when you talk to them, they ask you if you can reunite them with their friend that they were traveling with. And then they point you in the right direction. Personally, I like these little quests. However, the big question is, can you also bring them to another Korok? There are loads of them across the world after all, waiting for their friend. And so I decided to grab this Korok and took it on a massive adventure. And when I finally arrived at this Korok, who is clearly waiting for someone else, I found out that this doesn't work. The Korok won't even respond to the one I dropped next to him, so clearly you can't deliver them to someone else. Which makes sense because it would probably break the game. So yeah, this claim is false. Number 10. Now this next myth kind of surprised me. It was a weird claim and I have no idea how someone came up with it. User Winterhope Azrael Dreamer said that a cooking pot attached to an arrow will destroy an ore deposit in one hit, which is an impressive feat. Normally it takes a bit of effort to break those, unless you have a hammer or something. And so I went into the depths to test this myth. And after some looking around in one of the old mines, I found some ore deposits. Now after shooting some normal arrows at it, I could see that those wouldn't break it, but then I used the cooking pot. Now that did the job instantly. It was quite satisfying to do and worked incredibly well. Now I don't know if this is the most efficient way of doing this, because I mean you could also fuse it to a weapon and then bash the ore deposit. This way you don't waste loads of cooking pots. But this claim is still 100% true. Number 9. Now, around 2 videos ago, we decided to mess with an 8-fold blade due to its crazy powers. It can create some sort of wind slash due to its design, which can be handy in a fight since it gives you a ranged attack. However, what happens to this special air slash attack when you add other items to it? This is now a thing due to fusing after all. Well, Winterhope Azrael Dreamer came around the corner once again and claimed the following. You can fuse a muddle bud to an 8-fold long blade, and then it will confuse everything hit by the air slash. This is a bold claim! Something like this would be worth its weight in gold, especially when fighting hordes of enemies. And so I decided to make this weapon and confront this group of enemies. And to my surprise, this really works. Within seconds, the entire group was affected by the muddle bud and started fighting each other. Meanwhile, I could keep my distance. So this claim is true. Clearly, almost any item will affect the air slash power of this weapon, which is pretty neat. Number 8. In the Gerudo Desert, you will quickly see that something is horribly wrong. Navigating is really hard, the Gerudo aren't doing so well, and there are Gyptos like everywhere. As you can imagine, this isn't a good thing, and throughout the game you try to solve these issues. But dealing with these pesky Gyptos can be hard because they only take damage when hit by lightning. Well, that's what you would think, because according to Winterhope Azrael Dreamer, yeah, this guy again, he came up with a lot of good ideas for this video, you can kill Gyptos with water. Now, as far as I know, only electricity works, so I had to test this one. I mean, if it's real, then it could be very useful. And so I found myself some Gyptos and threw a couple of splash fruits on them. Now, surprisingly enough, this works really well. It actually deals damage and makes them vulnerable for physical attacks. So yeah, this claim is true and also really handy, especially if you have done the water temple before going here. Number 7. Now, 2 videos ago, we experimented with the idea of giving enemies special fused weapons to see what they would do with it. This is something I even did back in the day in Minecraft. Just trap a couple of zombies in a friend's house, arm them to the teeth, and wait for your friend to come back. This was always a lot of fun. However, in Tears of the Kingdom, we quickly found out that it doesn't work that well. A bokoblin can't use something like a rocket shield. So that's it then, right? Well, no, because as people pointed out in the comments, they don't have Zonite batteries. And so many users, including JKid1337, asked, what if you give a construct enemy a rocket shield? Would that work? Well, maybe. I mean, they can use Zonite devices, so I would say yes. And so I found this guy and gave him a rocket shield. Now, sadly enough, he didn't use it. And so I also decided to hit the rocket to see if I could activate it myself. But no, nothing really happened. So yeah, for some reason, no one can use fused items made by the player. So yeah, this claim is false. Number 6. Shipping. It is something that has become a big thing due to the internet, and we've also seen it in The Legend of Zelda. Many people want to see Zelda and Link together, having some sort of serious relationship, even though Nintendo will never deliver on this. However, this isn't the only one of its kind, because fans have also shipped Link and Purah now that the game is out, because she has become an adult again, and fans are falling for her head over heels, which has led to all kinds of new and interesting rumors. According to Sangoku000, this romantic tension between Link and Purah can actually be seen in the game. He said that he saw a clip of Link standing next to Purah, where Link's body temperature goes up due to his excitement. Now, when I read this, I knew I had to test this. And so I did, but I found out that none of this is actually true. You can see that Link's body temperature doesn't change at all as I move close to Purah, and even when I walk away, nothing changes. So while this would have been a fun touch, it isn't actually a thing, which means that this claim is false. Number 5. Now, while the last test with the 8-fold blade was a success, we have another one that we need to look at. One that is also very interesting, as it has a huge effect on the weapon's charged attack in a way that we hadn't seen before. According to Zelda's combat, if you spin attack with an 8-fold long blade that has a rocket attached, it will spin like a normal two-handed weapon. Now, this is something I hadn't seen before, so I was really curious if this was real and what would happen to the weapon during the spin. And so I grabbed my blade, slapped a rocket on it, and started spinning like a maniac, which showed that it really worked. But then I saw something even more surprising. When the rocket is spent, you will continue to spin, and then all of a sudden, it will create all kinds of small wind slashes that it fires around in a circle, which was a really cool attack, and I didn't even know that this was possible with the 8-fold long blade. So yeah, this claim is true, and even unlocks a completely new attack that I had never seen before in Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom. Number 4. Sometimes you need a specific elemental item, for example when you face the opposite type in the form of an enemy, because as soon as a fire Lizalfos comes into contact with ice, he will die immediately, and so you don't have to deal with him. Due to this, elemental items like horns, wings, and eyeballs are very valuable, but farming them can be a bit tedious. Sure, you can use glitches, but not everyone knows how to do those, and they often get patched out by Nintendo. So is there a way you can change them? Well, this is what Mujo was wondering, and so I tested it. I used some Key's wings and eyeballs for the test, and threw different kinds of elemental fruits at them, which actually did nothing. Sadly enough, this stuff just doesn't work, and so you are stuck with whatever type you originally picked up. So sorry Mujo, while it works for Choo Choo Jelly, it doesn't for any other monster part. So this claim is false. Number 3. Now this next myth required some skill to test, and also a bit of planning, because Yeetman333 presented me with an interesting challenge, jumping from a sky island into one of the many holes across Hyrule, right into the depths, which I had never done before, but it's certainly a cool idea for a stunt. However, he wanted me to try this to see if the game would still update fast enough to tell me if I was on the surface world again, and so I found this sky island above the Great Plateau that was really really close to one of the holes so I could jump straight down. Well, almost. And upon doing so, I noticed that the game does tell you that you're on the surface again, because as you can see here, it says Great Plateau, Hyrule Kingdom. So the claim made by Yeetman333 is false. However, I did see something quite interesting. If you do this, the game apparently can't handle it, and so when you reach the depths, you will be stuck in place for a bit, allowing the game to buffer, which looks really weird. So yeah, I just wanted to share that because I found it pretty entertaining. Number 2. Now, building stuff with the new Zonai parts is a massive part of the game. Without it, you are essentially doomed. I mean, how are you gonna move those bloody Koroks from point A to B? Sure, you can haul them around using Ultra Hand, but that's just super annoying. And so many people have come up with all kinds of different designs that are useful in all kinds of scenarios. And one person in my comment section, whose name I can't pronounce, came up with something cool. He claimed that using only one fan under a steering stick is almost the same as a hover bike and saves loads of battery. Now, I found this hard to believe. This won't work, right? I mean, it would be incredibly unstable, right? Well, I decided to test this and made the machine in the middle of Kakariko Village. And as soon as I stepped on it, I noticed something. This thing is really hard to control. You will be going everywhere and constantly need to fight the vehicle itself as it throws you around. So yeah, I mean, it works and barely costs any battery. However, it is barely usable in my opinion. Which means that this claim is true, but it isn't that useful. Number 1. Now, this last one is a bit, odd. And it once again involves a poor Korok who's going to get tortured. Because in my last video, I messed around with some Goblin parts and used them to bully our poor happy tree friends. But then Phoenix Downer 7359 asked me if I could take this a step further by attaching a Stel arm directly to a Korok. Would this do anything at all? Well, since I was messing around with these guys by bringing them to the wrong friend, I decided to give this claim a shot as well. Now, I quickly found out that you can actually attach something like a Goblin Arm to a Korok. But will they freak out? Well, no. Sure, when you use Ultra Hand, they get a bit stressed, but as soon as that was over, he remained calm, even though a freaking Stel Goblin Arm is attached to him, which was quite surprising. I thought he would go nuts, but no. So yeah, the claim is true, I guess. You can attach a Stel Goblin Arm to a Korok, but sadly enough, they don't care. Now, those were all the myths we had for today. But don't forget, I made more videos like these, so go check them out. And leave your ideas below, even if they are for another game, because I want to cover Mario Kart, Super Smash Bros, and Super Mario stuff as well. Thank you all so much for watching, I hope you enjoyed. My voice was a bit rough for this one, so I hope you didn't notice it too much. It's just a bit of a sore throat, been using my throat a lot, like voiceover and discuss stuff with people on Discord. Moxie Watts, for example. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. Be sure to subscribe, click the bell button, check out the other videos. Leave your ideas for improving these videos or your myths for Tears of the Kingdom or other games down below. And then I will see all of you in the next video. Yeah, because I have more, so go check them out. Bye, everybody. Kisses from Papa. Mwah! Oh, you're such a good boy or girl. Person of unspecified gender.